Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to East Central Missouri and the world, and welcome to the James Strong Show podcast number 249. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I appreciate it. This podcast was recorded on the morning of Saturday, January 1st, from the James Strong Studio in Western St. Charles County. Happy New Year to everybody. First podcast of the new year. Originally, I'd kind of planned on doing one yesterday, which would have made it the last podcast of an old year. But I started bright and early working on the Jaguar and didn't end until relatively late. So I was worn out. I didn't have the energy to do a podcast. I spent a whole day working on a dopey car. So we did it today, which is fine. Didn't do a podcast on Christmas Day. No offense. I love the crowd. I love the fans of the James Strong Show. But you know what? I had other stuff going on last Saturday, Christmas Day, and I'm quite sure that you did too. So I think, at least I hope, that I'll be forgiven for missing a Saturday. Couple of things going on. First of all, the podcast today, we're going to end the podcast with a nice New Year's story, a nice story that I think is going to make everybody smile and hopefully put a silver lining to what, in my opinion, far too many people are seeing as the dark cloud of the world we live in today. I disagree that this world is living in a dark cloud, and I'm going to go ahead and present some, in my opinion, facts that back up my belief. First of all, we're going to go ahead and start with a Jaguar update. Lots of updates for the Jaguar. There's been a lot that I've been doing and a lot going on with the car. Let's just say that, okay? We're then going to go into Christmas and stuff like that, and an experience that I had a week ago tomorrow, and then into the essay. The Jaguar update worked all day long. Had the day off work, luckily, and worked on the Jaguar all day long. The goal had been the last couple of weeks is I wanted to get some painting done. Okay. Didn't happen last week because while it was warm enough to paint, needed to be 50 degrees to paint. Okay. I got involved, I guess, into going down rabbit holes with trying to rebuild and figure out how this British Girling brake system works. Originally, the guy I'm working with on this car said, look, if you're going to do these brakes, you're best served if you just buy everything new. Only problem with that is new parts for a 70-year-old car are hard to find, okay? Number two, when you can find them, they are quite expensive. So I've got a machining background. I know how to rebuild stuff, so I'm just going to rebuild these brakes, right? Okay. I have to figure out how they work first. I have to get them apart. I have to look at the parts. I have to find out what can be reworked, what needs to be rebuilt, and what needs to be built new and put into the assembly. I'm still at step one, trying to get these things apart. So learning how they work, getting them apart, that's steps 1 and 2. Steps 3 is determining what I need to do to rebuild them. Step 4 will be rebuilding the parts. Well, I'm only on step 1 and 2 right now. It's becoming, I'm going to say difficult. I'm not going to say I'm complaining because I'm learning a ton about how these parts work. So it's a lot of fun. It's just taking more time than I thought it was going to take. Okay. I did order a lot of parts this week because that car may be here by the end of next month for me to start putting together. So there's some stuff that, of course, I have to buy new. I have to buy new wiring for the whole thing. Okay. The wiring was half eaten by possums and the other half was rotten. So I have to buy all new wiring. That's been purchased. 100% all new body rubber. Body rubber on a car that's 70 years old, especially back in the day where they didn't make rubber as good as they do now. Yeah, it's all gone. It needs to be replaced. That's all been ordered. Rebuilding components for all the brake parts. That's been purchased. Cables for the handbrake had to be purchased. Could I reuse the other cable? Maybe. But again, this is a steel part that's important that's 70 years old. So I just bought the new brake cable. All the parts for cooling, all the heater hoses, all the engine coolant hoses, all rubber hoses had to be bought new. Those are on order. In fact, actually, one of them trickled in from a guy in California. So the parts have already started to arrive. So since they're starting to arrive, and I'm going to have the car back perhaps as early as the end of next month, I need to get on the stick and work on this car. So I spent a lot of time doing that. Last Sunday, it was nice weather. This Friday, here in East Central Missouri it was overcast, but it hit 65 degrees. I thought, okay, I'm going to sandblast a bunch of parts, clean a bunch of parts, and paint a bunch of parts today. The compressor in the shop is down. Okay, so I went to the guy who was there. I rent this shop from a guy. Part of the agreement is, okay, I rent the shop and you provide me an air compressor. Well, he's providing me an air compressor, but it's broken. So what do? You jump up, down, scream and yell and say, I don't care if this is New Year's Eve. Fix the air compressor right now. No. The guy was very apologetic, and this is just the poor sap that works there. A good young man, polite, gives you all the answers. But he said, look, it's New Year's Eve. They're not going to fix this thing now. They're not going to fix this thing tomorrow. They're going to fix it as soon as they can, but it's the holiday. I got it. But that means no sandblasting. Now, could I have just wire wheeled and sanded everything down and let it set aside until I sandblasted it? Yeah. But then I got to paint. So I was able to find some parts, and actually these were parts that there were brackets that hold on the fenders that didn't need to be sandblasted perfectly because they're not for aesthetics. They're for structure, and they're not really seen, but you don't want to put rusty parts on a car. So I was able to wire wheel those parts, wet sand them, dry them off, prime them, paint them. So I did get some stuff done yesterday. Surprise, surprise. And on December 31st, I was able to work actually just outside the shop with the bay doors open and the music blaring and sitting in the sun, wet sanding a bunch of old frame parts for a 1951 Jaguar Mark 7. That may not sound like a lot of fun to some people, but I'm here to tell you folks, yesterday morning and afternoon, I was smiling ear to ear. As I mentioned before, there was no podcast last weekend because I was enjoying Christmas, and I had a fantastic Christmas, and I hope that each and every one of you did as well. A lower key New Year, mainly because, we've got a bug going around here in the family, and almost everybody in the extended family either has been or is sick. And the trophy wife came down with it a couple days ago. Actually, she said it fever yesterday. So here I am on New Year's Eve running around trying to find a COVID test for her because, that's what you do. Finally found one, and she tested negative, which is kind of what we thought because I guess with our extended family, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say we have gone through some 20 COVID tests in the last week and a half, and they've all been negative. And you think to yourself, well, fever, body aches, sniffles, diarrhea, nausea. It's got to be COVID, right? No, it doesn't have to be COVID. You get sick from other stuff too. So thank the very funny Lord that it's not COVID, but we're still under the weather over here. And when I say we, I mean my dear wife, not so much me. And you think to yourself, well, Strong, how do you know you're not sick? Well, that's because I'm on somewhat of a prophylactic drug at this time because of something that happened last Sunday. I've been taking 875 milligrams of amoxicillin, which basically I think has just acted as a big time prophylactic for anything that's going to hit me. So I might be the only family member who's not gotten sick. Cross my fingers, it may still happen, but you never know. Now you're asking yourself, I know what you're asking. Okay, Strong, why are you on an 875 milligram dose of amoxicillin? And this is a big horse pill I'm taking twice a day. The only side effect really is when you take that much amoxicillin, when you take that much of an antibiotic, let's see, how can I word this delicately? Well, you can't word it delicately. Within maybe an hour of taking the first dose, I came down with a big time case of what the grandchildren call butt pee. Yeah, it's massive diarrhea, but that's what's going to happen with this stuff. No pains, no gurgling, no nothing, but you're going to have butt pee when you take that kind of antibiotic. You take an Imodium to counteract that, life is good. So you take an amoxicillin, you take an Imodium, you're 100%. So now back to the original question. Why are you taking 875 milligrams of amoxicillin? Well, because the doctor told me to. Okay, Strong, you're not giving us enough information. Why did the doctor tell you to take that much amoxicillin twice a day? Well, it's to fight off infection. Okay, it's like pulling teeth here. Why are you having to fight off infection? Well, it's because last Sunday, I was attacked by a pit bull. Now, those of you who live in East Central Missouri, especially in Western St. Charles County, the Lake St. Louis, Wentzville, O'Fallon area, may have heard about an incident that we had happen in the community last Sunday. And there was a man walking through the park. He was attacked by a pit bull. He was fighting him off. He called 911. Then a second man was attacked by the same pit bull in the same park. Another man came to their to try to help them. He was attacked. The dog took off after the police came. The dogs attacked others in the neighborhood. The police shot the dog. Okay. That first guy to be attacked was yours truly. And I've never had dogs as pets. Maybe as a kid, right before I moved out of my folks' house, they got a dog as a pet. But I don't dislike dogs. It's just I've never been around dogs. I don't know a ton about dogs. I know a lot of people love them. I know they're cute and cuddly. I know they require a lot of work, time, and expense. But that's really all I know about dogs. I also know that if you get in a one-on-one fight against a pit bull whose main intention is to kill you, that ain't good. And there's a good chance you're going to come out of that thing not good at all. I will tell you the whole story then in detail, because you're thinking, what the heck is going on with you, Strong? You're saying you were attacked by a pit bull, but we didn't hear anything more about it. We may have heard something on the story because they mentioned the guy who fought off the pit bull with a stick. That was me. They didn't mention my name because I didn't want them to mention my name. But I was just, folks, I was so lucky that this could have turned out for me a whole lot worse than it did. It was horrible. It was traumatic. It was terrifying. But basically, I walked away with 2 puncture wounds and just terrified. The other 2 guys who were involved in the attack, not so good at all. One was rushed off to the hospital in an ambulance. The other one was bloodied, horribly bloodied, in my opinion, but he refused treatment. He was a young man. The other guy was older than me. So 2 old guys and a young guy got attacked in a park by a pit bull. Now here's what happened, and it was just by the grace of God that it turned out good for me. It could have been so much worse. Last Sunday, if you remember, pretty nice day. Not like yesterday, not like Friday, but end of December. It was an overcast day, not much wind, middle 40s.